Thanks for your company here on News Desk with me, Bernice Abubedu. We'll now take you live to the Accra International Conference Center. It's day 2 of the funeral of the former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. My colleague Maxwell Agbagba is on the ground.
Well, thank you very much. The filing past, as was commenced yesterday, continues today. Like has been announced already today, members of the diplomatic community have the opportunity to file past and pay their last respects. Members of parliament have the opportunity today. Members of identifiable groups, such as the MOBA, the secondary school that His Excellency Kofi Annan attended, have the opportunity to file past and pay their respects. Ministers of State, former ministers of state, deputy ministers of state, and so on and so forth. Chiefs also today are on the program to pass through, file past the remains of Mr. Kofi Annan and pay their last respects. This shall continue until 4 o'clock thereabouts. Whilst we are at it, let me also use this opportunity to thank the people of Ghana for their show of love and solidarity and their cooperation with the entire process. Yesterday, when the general public had the opportunity, it was very successful. I mean, we didn't hear any reports of any misbehavior or misunderstanding and so on and so forth. And we think that we need to appreciate that and appeal to the people to continue to support us as we proceed. As we go ahead, we will continue to up the security ante a little, because as you are aware, a lot of important dignitaries are landing into town, and so we are not going to compromise on security, and we need the cooperation and understanding of the people of Ghana. But so far it's been good.
Are you able to tell us the head of states that we are, the presidents that we're expecting, who we expect in the country?
We are expecting the president of Côte d'Ivoire, the president of Liberia, the president of Namibia, the president of Niger. We are expecting the president of Zimbabwe. We are expecting the former queen of the Netherlands. We are expecting former president of Nigeria and former vice president of Nigeria. We are expecting quite a large number of high level delegations. A lot of countries also will be represented either by, like I said, vice presidents or foreign affairs ministers. And so it's a very large delegation that we are expecting.
Are we expecting any of them here today, or do they all be coming tomorrow?
We are expecting them to arrive in the country, but for those categories of persons, they are filing past is tomorrow before the church service commences. And so sometime within the time tomorrow, heads of state, visiting heads of state will also have the opportunity. His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, will be the last person to file past, and then the church service will commence.
Okay, so what time is the burial service? It's
9. The burial service commences at exactly 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. But before 9, we have some filing past going to happen before the 9 o'clock. But the Anglican service, that will be the funeral service commences at 9.
Thank you very much. So you just heard from the Deputy Information Minister, Pius Hajide, telling us that we have quite a number of heads of states, coming into the country, who are already, in the country, who are already in the country to, who will be coming to pay their last respect to the former UN Secretary General. Now, let's try and get close up. He's speaking to the media. Former Defense Minister will try and get him and then try and talk to him and also find out from him his take on that. He has been inside the foyer of the Accra International Conference Center. Already, we've had some chiefs here. We also have some people from recognized
Ghana United Nations.
This is the Ghana United Nations Association. You want to tell us, Charles Nkrumah, you are the National President, Youth Affairs. What do you do at the Ghana United Nations Association?
We are non-governmental organizations. We organize to see peace, security, and development in this country and the whole of all world.
Okay, so you had opportunity to work closely with Kofi Annan, I'm told.
Yes, we have opportunity closely with Kofi Annan. We had a meeting once a while. He comes in and we talk to him on that issues of peace. He always talk about peace. That's also our aim of also coming to this world to do.
What kind of man was he? We know the important role that he played, you know, at the United Nations, promoting peace. We know how he visited a lot of countries to ensure that there is peace. I mean, an example is Kenya in 2001. What kind of person was he?
Oh, as for Kofi Annan, we know we cannot describe him as from today. He's a man that we cannot describe him for any time till when the world even goes to an end. It's not only for only peace, it's not only for only security, and not only for development, but it's also for needy. It's also for the needy, the poor, the disabled, the able. It's for everybody.
Okay.
That is him.
Okay, thank you very much, Charles Nkrumah. He's the president of the Ghana United Nations Association. Let's get closer and speak to some former ambassadors. I have one of them, two of them actually, former ambassador to Italy. We spoke earlier, but it wasn't a record, so we want to talk to you again. We also have the former ambassador to Germany, Madame Bekia Senadansoa. She's on the phone. We'll talk to her shortly. But let's speak to the former ambassador to Italy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Republic of Italy.
Great. I'm sure you had opportunity to meet Kofi Annan when he was alive.
Yeah, I had a big opportunity to meet him in the UN itself. At that time, I was the chairperson of the National Council on Women and Development. So once a year, we attend this Commission on Status of Women. And I had a big discussion with him, especially concerning women in Ghana, trying to put them into the mainstream, bring them to the forefront, and to places where decisions are being taken concerning women, where there were no women. And I think his contribution towards that was great. And for now, you can see where women of Ghana have reached. We even discussed the quota system, 25% for women, and now you can see it all. Now, women are ambassadors now, women are ministers, deputy ministers, government statisticians, electoral commissioners. So I think with Kofi Annan, on the Commission on Status of Women, we have come very far. Yeah.
Indeed, if you want to talk about Kofi Annan, we cannot talk about him without mentioning the Millennium Development Goals, which later developed into the Sustainable Development Goals, his work in Africa, especially to combat HIV and then promoting the rights of women and children. What do you think should be the main focus of the United Nations?
Well, I believe that once he's no more and he's left office, I think the continuation must be there. Anybody who represents us in the UN must continue to hammer on these areas, because it looks like we have done some, but we are really, really behind in doing. And the best thing is to get somebody like him who is focused, who is detailed, who is hardworking, to be there to push what he has put into the stream.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so you just heard from the former ambassador to Italy. We also have the former ambassador to Germany who would want to get closer to her and then interact with her. We also have former minister Adokufo. He's also here. He came to pay his last respects there in a conversation, but we'll try and get the attention and then quickly get, some words from them. Here at the Accra International Conference Center, we've had lots of ministers coming in. We've had lots of diplomats coming in today to pay their last respect. We had Ambassador Blay, former ambassador to Ivory Coast, and also former Chief of Defense Staff, Ambassador Blay, and he was recounting how he met Kofi Annan in one of their meetings and how he insisted for peace, to reign. We also had interactions with. Let's get closer to Mr. Adokufo and then have interactions with Mr. Adokufo. You're welcome to JoyNews.
I've given about
okay. Okay, so he said he's done a lot of interviews. Let's try and see if we can get Madame Senadansoa, former ambassador to Germany. Let's interact with her. I know. Madame Senadansoa, you're welcome to JoyNews.
Thank you very much. How are you?
I'm fine. I trust you're doing well too.
Yes, by His grace, I'm doing fine.
Great. I'm sure you had opportunity to meet Kofi Annan when he was alive.
Well, just casually. Yeah, but I learned about him from a distance.
Yeah. As a former ambassador to Germany, what would you say were the lessons that we can draw from his life?
Well, the most important one is his contribution towards global peace and development. He did that in various forms, initiated the MDGs, contributed to peace in various places in the world, and of course, spearheaded very fantastic negotiations that contributed to global peace, which otherwise could have resulted in war and all of that. Apart from that, there's a lot to learn from his personality. His humility was legendary, his meekness, his calmness. There was something about him that was like, if he met you one-on-one, there was no way you could say no to him. And that was a hallmark of an effective leader. He didn't need to shout. He didn't need to fight anybody. He didn't need to put his opinion across very forcefully, and yet he made an impact. So this is what, personally, as a former diplomat and also as a governance person, these are values that we should learn and bring to bear wherever we find ourselves, whether in politics, in religion, in business. These are fantastic values we should learn.
And you are very much also interested in issues concerning women, you know, and then girls. We know the United Nations, through the Sustainable Development Goals, they are doing a lot, you know, in that, you know, regard. But what do you want them to do more? What do you want the United Nations to do more to champion the rights, to champion the cause of women?
Well, I think that this is, I don't know whether to term it a personal observation, but I think there's too much going into conferences, too much into meetings. We already know the issues. We know the solutions. So why don't we rather commit resources into implementation, into tangible things that will improve the lives of women and children across the world? If I had my way, that is what I would do. The meetings are becoming too many, you know, and let's put money on the ground, into the grassroots. Yeah, so we can make a better impact.
Thank you very much for talking.
Pleasure.
So we just heard from Madam Sena Ikea Sena Dansua. She's a former ambassador to Germany.
Maxwell Agbagba there, the Accra International Conference Center. We'll be keeping our eyes there. We'll be bringing you more, even as dignitaries file past the body of the late UN Secretary General. Now, it's time to know just a bit more about him, and the feature you're about to see details some aspect of his life known to people who spent time with him in school and also those who worked closely with him.
The world that I'm working to create is a world that should be of interest to all of us. I'm working to create a world that is stable, that is peaceful, where we as human beings realize that we cannot consume the resources of the world the way we are doing, as if there's no tomorrow.
That's the man, Kofi Annan, declaring his vision for the world, a vision to protect the dignity of humanity.
The farmer knows instinctively that if you take something from the earth today, you have to put something back to be able to return to harvest tomorrow. Somehow, when we move to the city, we lose that instinct. We need to create a world that is equitable, that is stable, and a world where we bear in mind the needs of others and not only what we need immediately.
But this vision about the world seems to have started a long time ago here in Ghana, West Africa. Kofi Annan was born on April 8, 1939 in Kumasi, Ghana, to an elite family. His father, Henry Reginald Anashanti, and his mother, Victoria Annan Efante. Kofi Annan attended Asim Boys Junior Secondary School and later, in 1953, the Infantipim Senior Secondary School, Cape Coast, where his future as a diplomat will be crafted. In this documentary, we speak to schoolmates, friends, co-workers, and family members looking back on the life of the man who, until his death, wowed the world with his exemplary leadership style. Kofi Annan Secondary School in Infantipim was founded by British Methodist missionaries in 1876. And here is where many of the stories about Mr. Annan's political leadership, fun and pun, started.
At school, there was nothing to distinguish Kofi from any other child in the school.
Dr. Andrew Anane Akutu, a retired civil servant at the UN, was Mr. Annan's schoolmate at Infantipim. He remembers so vividly their time on campus back in the day.
Kofi's main thing, as I recall, is that he was a very good athlete, that he was a very good sprinter. And later on, I learned when he went to the States and so on, he was even competing in the States as a sprinter.
While on campus, Kofi Annan was deeply involved in the political leadership, becoming the opposition leader of the mock parliamentary elections of Infantipim. That earned him the nickname Domo.
From mock political parties and elected members to assemblies and so on. And Kofi was elected the deputy leader of the opposition. And in those days, opposition people were called generally Domo. So Kofi acquired the nickname Domo up till his passing. Among some close friends, we called him Domo.
And this was at a time the Gold Coast was working to seek independence from Britain, a time of increased optimism about Ghana's political future led by Ghanaians. Under the leadership of Kwame Nkrumah, a movement for independence was gaining ground, and by 1957, Ghana had become the first British African colony to gain independence.
You may remember that during those middle 50s, most children at secondary schools and everything, we were all highly aware of the political activities and movements that were taking place in and around us at the national, regional level. And so, growing up in Kumasi, you could not possibly have missed you could not have been unaware of the political movements there between the Kwame Nkrumah's movement and the Ashanti, this thing for separation, regional and so on.
But this active involvement in politics on campus would not translate into dabbling in politics at the national level. This is why the legendary former headmaster of Infantipim, F.L. Bartels, would not allow his students to join the political movement. He's a man who would influence a generation. F.L. Bartels instilled in his students greater discipline. Ambassador Patrick Hayford was Director for Regional and African Affairs in the Executive Office of the UN Secretary General. As an old boy of Infantipim himself, Ambassador Hayford believes the influence of F.L. Bartels helped shape the character of Kofi Annan.
He was a wonderful educationist who helped to instill these values of discipline and honesty and integrity, but above all, public service. He helped to instill this in his students, including in Mr. Kofi Annan. And Mr. Annan often spoke of the influence of Mr. F.L. Bartels.
One of Kofi Annan's noticeable achievements at Infantipim was to lead a protest against poor quality of food in the dining hall.
He happened to be the leader of a small group of students who were protesting perhaps more loudly than others. And this came to the notice of the headmaster, Bartels.
F.L. Bartels then called him to his office and said, "I understand you have something to do with all this strike nonsense. If you have an issue to discuss, come to me and we'll discuss it man to man. You are reasonably intelligent. Given the chance, you may become a useful member of society." That was the prophecy. Kofi would then work towards translating this into reality. He left Infantipim after F.L. Bartels failed to promote him to sixth form because Mr. Annan's performance was not stellar. Kofi later entered the new Kumasi Institute of Science and Technology, a British-operated technical college. Here too, his instinctive sense of leadership would make him the president of the Ghana National Students' Union. During a visit to Sierra Leone, he was spotted by executives of the Ford Foundation on a talent scout. In 1959, Kofi Annan studied at the McAllister College, a small liberal arts college in St. Paul, Minnesota. At McAllister, Mr. Annan was easily noticeable. He was a good debater and delivered various speeches about the need for the West to support Africa, a continent trying to pull itself out of the woods. After McAllister, Kofi Annan joined the United Nations in 1962 and would make his way upward through the system. His specialties included people management, a skill his friend and former director for Africa and Regional Affairs in the Executive Office of the UN Secretary General, Ambassador Hayford, says Mr. Annan demonstrated strongly while in Infantipim.
Infantipim has a long and proud tradition of public service. We were all taught and encouraged to go into public service because it was a duty. And I think it came out of the Christian Methodist ethos, that we are here not for ourselves, but to serve others and the Almighty.
From really humble beginnings, he rose to become a world leader that many love and admire. We continue to celebrate this icon, Busumuru Kofi Annan. You're watching News Desk with me, Bernice Abubedi. It's now time for business news, and Sandra Apin is standing by with the latest.